welcome back everybody to House of Cards, your YouTube channel for all the awesome sports cards content. This is episode number 44, and we are going to dive into a really kind of complicated, kind of controversial, but also very, very interesting subject of NFTs, Top Shot, which is part of that world, sports cards, how they all sort of live in this universe of ours, and what does the future look like for these things? Because I do believe there's a kind of a bright future ahead for both sports cards and NFTs. We don't need to be very tribal here. We can all get along and we can come together for something really cool. All right, but before we get into it, before we dig in, before I, fill your brain up with a bunch of crazy talk, I would love if you would hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. If this is your first time here or you've watched a few videos and you haven't subscribed yet, that would be really awesome. And also hitting the like button really does help too, because what that does is it goes into YouTube's little algorithms and tells people that, people are watching this video. So you should watch this video. So basically it just gets the video out to more people. All right, now the house cleaning is kind of done. Here's kind of the basis of what we're talking about today. So I think recently there's been so much talk around NFTs, specifically around Top Shot within the hobby, that I felt compelled to do a video helping to sort of give you a quick crash course in what NFTs are, how they're used for Top Shot, what that means in general, and then of course, what does that mean for the sports card market, and how can there be a future? Is there a future for both the physical sports cards and the digital collectibles? Now, I know that's a lot, and I know most people that I've heard talk about Top Shot in particular, and I hate to say this, but they've been a little uneducated, and they've sort of, I guess you would say, given it that knee-jerk, I don't like this reaction. And I think a lot of people have that reaction because the way Top Shot was marketed to us as a alternative to sports cards, which I feel like is a little bit misleading because it is not sports cards, but they're just kind of packaging it up and dressing it up as sports cards to help, I think, kind of keep people from having to really understand NFTs, because I think NFTs are such a interesting new sort of technology that I think a lot of people might feel overwhelmed with if you kind of led with NFTs. Instead, what Top Shot did, which was actually genius, was they kind of packaged it up in this easy to digest sort of baseball cards, sports cards type of, product. It made it a lot easier for, the hobbyists like myself and you, if you're watching this, to adopt Top Shot and to, look at it like we do sports cards, because they took a lot of the same elements. Okay, so we understand what Top Shot is by now. If you haven't yet, you should definitely check it out. This is their site. It's pretty basic stuff. You set up an account, you get in line to buy a pack, you open the pack, you get, a certain number of moments, and those moments are, sequentially numbered to X thousand copies of it, and they will then have some sort of monetary value based on the Top Shot marketplace and what people are willing to pay for these moments, and so on and so forth. Pretty standard stuff, right? Very similar to sports cards, right? We buy packs, we open them, we check out the cards. If there's something good, it has a certain value to it that's based on people wanting that card, and we then sell it on eBay or StarStock or whatever it is, right? Same idea. So you can see the kind of the similarities there between sports cards and Top Shot. But what we're not seeing, though, is the underlying technology that is Top Shot and what that actually does and why that is actually important, even more important than the actual physical Top Shot itself, because Top Shot itself is just, it is what it is, right? It's what everyone kind of said in the beginning, right? Like, this is just a YouTube clip. Why am I paying $10,000 for this YouTube clip of LeBron James when I can just go on YouTube and watch the video myself, or, do a screenshot of this and put it on my phone, and it's the same thing, right? Well, no, it's not the same thing. I guess it's the equivalent of saying I can, scan your, LeBron RPA and, print it on a piece of paper and say that it's worth a bunch of money, right? Okay, the reason is that the basics of NFTs and the whole blockchain in general is that it's a general ledger to show ownership. So it's important to understand that as the fundamental thing, right? It's kind of like with art or baseball cards or whatever it may be, right? There's ownership because we physically own it in real life, right? We have the card. We own this, this particular card. I own it because in my hands, it's in my desk drawer. I own this because I bought it on eBay and the proof is right here in my hands, right? Okay. Now with digital items, like say, digital art. If somebody, made a little doodle and they, like it and they want to sell it, right? Let's just play out a little scenario here. So I made a digital stick figure and I think it's cool and I think other people might like it and I want to sell it. Okay, I can't just go on eBay and sell my digital stick figure, right? I have to be able to, actually sell the thing in some sort of a marketplace or some sort of form or fashion, right? And I also have to be able to make sure and let the person know that they actually bought the item from me, the artist. And how do I do that? And once I own it as a person, like if I'm the buyer, what's my proof that this was actually from the artist and it wasn't just a screenshot or a copy of this digital piece of art? So that's where the blockchain comes in. So the blockchain is basically the ledger that basically says, this is the person who created it because this person, put this onto the marketplace and they mined the token to, that basically has all this information that says, I made it on this date. I'm the owner, I'm the creator, and I put it up on the marketplace on this date for this much money. So that's what we call a token. So when you hear the term NFT, which stands for non-fungible token, that's what a token is. It's basically creating this sort of, I guess you say, receipt of what the item is, how much it costs, blah, blah, blah. And we'll get more into that in a little bit, right? So you create this token, and we'll talk about how to create a token here shortly. The token basically is sort of the receipt, right? The paperwork. And then you basically connect your piece of art to that token. So my digital stick figure is now connected to this token that says I created this stick figure on February 12th and I am going to sell it for $50 on the marketplace, whichever one that is. And we'll talk about that too. Okay, so now we kind of understand what the purpose of the token is. The token is basically the catalyst to be able to take your digital art and stick it onto the blockchain so people can buy it. So now once I come along and say, ooh, I like that stick figure, I'll pay $50 for that. What happens is the transaction will work on the blockchain. So it'll have a ledger that says now that I transferred the ownership to this person and now I have ownership of this item and this is how much I paid for it. So basically just think of it like, a ledger. Every time something happens, it's written down in this, digital world that never changes or doesn't have any, way to sort of alter it. And there is a, publicly viewable and understandable ledger for everything that happens. So anyone can look at at the ledger and see like, oh, House of Cards purchased this stick figure for $50 on this date. So it's very transparent. Everyone understands who owns what. So that's the big difference, right? Because anyone can, like you said, watch a YouTube clip or, take a screenshot of a digital piece of art and stick it on their phone or on their computer or whatever it is and say, oh, it's the same thing. While technically, maybe it is the same thing, right? Maybe that screenshot is just as good as the original, whatever PNG that was made for the stick figure. However, the value comes from the fact that you actually have proof that you own this item. So that's the key here. Let that sink in. The proof is where the value is, right? I can prove I own this card because I have it in my hands, right? Because I own it and I physically have this item. However, in the digital world, proving that you own something is different, right? Because you can't just say, oh yeah, I got this item, like, well, where'd you get it from? Like who's the original artist or who made it, whatever. There's a different kind of set of rules when it comes to digital world. So what's most important here is that this is traceable and it's on the ledger, it's on the blockchain, and proof is there. So that really is what it comes down to, of why digital items will have value, is because they are basically NFTs and they're put onto the blockchain and ownership is proven. So as long as the original owner was the person who created the piece of art, so let's just say you like Banksy and he created an NFT of one of his drawings, if you don't have that that NFT, if you don't have the actual proof that you bought it, then you really probably are just, taking a screenshot and trying to pretend like it's an NFT. So the NFT, the ledger, has to say this originated from Banksy and now it's owned by you. Does that make sense? Okay. Pretty straightforward stuff there, right? So let's talk about what you need to sort of live in this world and sort of how Top Shot sort of got its way in and why I think it's taken off. So the whole crypto world kind of started a while ago, right? I would say 10-15 years ago. Bitcoin came out, all these things started happening. Ethereum, which is the platform that we're basically gonna be focusing on today, is basically, think of Bitcoin as currency. So Bitcoin is used to buy things and so on and so forth, right? Ethereum is more of a utility coin. So it's basically used as, like I said before, as the delivery vessel for things to go onto the blockchain. So if you wanted to put your stick figure on the blockchain, you have to mine an Ethereum token in order to do that. So Ethereum was made for that exact purpose. Okay, so what is going on with Top Shot is basically, it's the same thing. Every Top Shot moment is an NFT. So instead of a stick figure on top of your token, they are putting a video clip or a moment on top of these tokens. And what that does is, as you get these tokens these moments, and when you open your packs, you basically are able to then have them on your ledger of saying that you now own this moment. So there isn't any way for it to be cheated or anything like that, because you now own this moment because it's on the blockchain now and it's on the ledger. And as part of this, you have to have what they call a crypto wallet, which your wallet is basically where you keep all of your digital assets, right? Your Bitcoin, your NFTs, whatever it may be. So what Top Shot did was they created sort of its own marketplace within its platform. So there are other marketplaces out there, and if you want to learn more about the different types of NFTs, like specifically like the digital art, the digital worlds and land and stuff like that you can buy, you can check out a couple places like OpenSea, which is a really popular one where a lot of the digital artists are putting their stuff. Rarible is another huge one. So those are basically NFT marketplaces. Now, Top Shot basically created their own marketplace within their platform, so everything is kind of within this ecosystem of their control. So while the bases are the same as far as how NFTs work and everything else, it's done within the Top Shot world. So if I open a pack and I get my moments and then I want to trade them or sell them or whatever, I don't have to go to OpenSea or Rarible or any of these other platforms. I can just all do it within the world of Top Shot. So that was a really smart move by them in order to kind of control all of that. One thing to know too is when you're creating tokens, which is the T in NFT, you have to, what they call is, mine these tokens in order to create them. So these aren't just like created out of thin air. They are actually take a large amount of computing power. You probably heard like, Bitcoin mining and stuff like that. That's basically people that have these massive computers and servers set up in order to create these coins and these tokens. So Ethereum is the same way, where you need to actually spend money in order to make these tokens. So for every Top Shot moment that's made, there is a bit of mining that has to happen in order to make these moments. In Ethereum, you have to have gas in order to create these tokens. And gas is basically the equivalent of dollars. So, for instance, if I had like a simple GIF of whatever it may be, you know, I don't know, little dancing stick figure GIF, right? If I went onto one of the platforms to mine and create these tokens, I would need to spend money in order to create the tokens. So depending on the size of the file, how complex it is, whatever it is, there's different dollar amounts. So I watched one guy create a token, and it cost him about $40 for a simple little GIF in order to create it. So it's not a free thing to just whip out these NFTs. There's a monetary part to it as well. So I just wanted to make that clear, just so everyone, it helps you sort of understand this a little bit more. I'm also going to link here different places you can go to create your crypto wallets as well, because that is the first step before you can even start, you know, putting stuff on these platforms to sell. If you're looking to do more than just, you know, Top Shot, if you want to actually get into the NFT world, there's a couple steps you have to take in order to set yourself up correctly. And just a quick sort of rewind on NFTs in general, they really kind of started around 2017. And around then, there's a thing called crypto kitties that kind of became a big boom. The crypto kitties, just like they sound, they're just little digital art of these cats that people really like. There's also crypto punks. And basically, these came out early on, and when I say early on, it's only a few years ago, but early within the NFT world. And people liked them right away. And they had a fan base, they had collectors, people started buying them. Think of them like Beanie Babies, right? Like people kind of are always like, why did Beanie Babies become such a thing and became so popular and became worth a lot of money? Same thing can be said for these crypto kitties, because it was just a collectible that had a fan base and people wanted them. So the more someone wants something, right? Basic supply and demand, it goes up in cost and value. So these crypto kitties came out, but shortly thereafter, the whole kind of Bitcoin world kind of came crashing down. If you remember, it went, you know, pretty much down to an all-time low. And at that point, I think a lot of the initial hype around these NFTs, which were, you know, kind of a new concept then, kind of got lost in the whole mix of this whole world crashing down. So anyways, fast forward to, you know, about 4, 5, 6, 7 months ago, all of a sudden this whole NFT idea starts bubbling again. And artists start, you know, creating these NFTs on the Ethereum, you know, on the back of Ethereum. And next thing you know, these marketplaces are popping up so people can actually transact them. And all of a sudden, this new sort of, you know, crypto, I guess you say renaissance starts again for NFTs. Now, NFTs, again, as you look at these other platforms, you're going to see, man, they take all kinds of shapes, sizes, and everything else, right? There's goofy stuff, there's cool stuff, there's all kinds of stuff. But right now we're in the very early stages, so there isn't much like licensed stuff in terms of like actual IP that's being used. NBA Top Shot is probably one of the first licensed IPs to dip their toes into the NFT world, outside of like artists that are doing it, that are, you know, popular artists. I'm talking about big IPs like Marvel or Star Wars or, you know, anything like NBA, NFL, MLB, whatever it is, right? But trust me, all those things are coming. It's going to happen real soon. And next thing you know, these are going to be everywhere. So anyways, I guess the overall concept of Top Shot is basically, this is how you can basically get involved with NFTs in a way that is easy to digest for the basic, you know, consumer, and specifically for the sports card consumer. So they're very smart in their angle on how to do this. The only problem I have and others have is the fact that they're trying to say it's better than sports cards, which it's not better. It's just different. It's just another, it's the, you know, the 1B to sports cards 1A. It's the same, it's just in a different medium. So I think that's important to kind of say, is we don't want to try and make this, you know, tribal and make us fight over what's better. It's just different. And the thing about Top Shot is the collectors need to be present in that space for this thing to have longevity. If the whole space is filled with nothing but flippers and investors, the long-term sort of outlook on it to me is a little bleak. Sports cards have a fundamental base of collectors, which is what props up the whole industry, which is why people are constantly buying sports cards during up, during down, during all different times, right? Collectors are collectors. They're going to want it even if it's not the hottest, most exciting thing on the planet Earth at that moment. So collectors are so important for specifically these types of, collectible industries, because again, once the investors get bored of it or the bubble starts to pop, who's going to be left? And if there's nobody left, then the whole thing goes to zero. But if there's a good fundamental base of collectors left, then it'll be okay. It might take a little dip, but it'll get back to where it was, no problem. So overall, basically, what I wanted to address here is that while Top Shot has its naysayers, and I think people that aren't very educated on NFTs sort of, scoffing at it, I definitely think that NFTs in general are going to be a very big part of the future of collectibles, specifically art. But it's going to be used in so many different ways. It's going to blow your mind. And I'm not going to get down that rabbit hole right now, because we're talking all kinds of crazy stuff that could be NFTs can be used for, from virtual worlds to real estate to, you name it. Anything and everything that requires some sort of a ledger of events taking place and being able to, see that and validate it. So what I think for the future is, I think sports cards and NFTs are going to kind of complement each other. I think physical items like sports cards have more collectability because of the very fundamental reason of it being an actual item that you can hold, that you can touch, you can share, you can show, you can do all kinds of things with, right? But the most important thing, and which is kind of weird saying this, is the fact that it actually is a physical item, and collectability often comes from scarcity, rarity, or the actual physical, condition of the item. And even though we all hate the freaking game of, grading and hoping that your card's in good shape and all that, that is the sad truth of the fact that that is probably what makes it so collectible, is the fact that it's not an NFT where there is no condition sensitivity. An NFT is an NFT. It's just a digital piece of content. So you don't ever have to worry about it getting, a bent corner. You don't have to worry about it getting a scratch. And while people may use that as a pro for NFTs, I actually think it's a con, because I think that the fact that you can damage something gives it even more scarcity and rarity, and especially those items that are in really good condition. They're going to hold a lot more value. You watch Pawn Stars, right? When they're talking about an item that's really cool, but it's just beat to hell. And they're sorry, I can't, this isn't worth that much because it's in shitty condition. Just like a comic book, if it has pages torn out, right? So the physical nature of sports cards and comic books and, physical collectibles has an advantage over NFTs for the very sake that they're more rare because of the nature of the item, it being physical, and it could get damaged. But I think overall, what we can see in the future, and in my prediction, is I think sports cards, the authenticity of sports cards is something that I think could be really interesting. Because I think right now we are living in this world of, we just assume everything is legit, everything's fine, even though we know there's counterfeits and there's fakes and stuff out there. For the most part, we feel like everything is okay. But imagine this. Imagine when you open a pack of cards, you also get a digital version of the cards. And I know Panini and other companies have kind of played around with the blockchain stuff. But just imagine, if I get a physical card, I also get a digital token, an NFT, right? With the card that I have in my digital wallet. And what that does is it proves that I own this card, because when I open this pack of cards, it had some sort of a key or something on the card that I can go log in and claim my NFT with. So I have an NFT of the card now that I can use as a ledger of me owning this card and when I took, possession of it. So now if I'm going to sell it in the future, I can, show the original person, okay, here's how much my card or how when I got my card, here's my NFT that proves it. So when I sell it to you, I'm going to sell you the NFT, and then you'll get the physical card with it. So the ledger carries over to the next person. So his name is now on the NFT, and he has the physical card also to complement it. Kind of interesting, right? Another thing is maybe PSA could mint NFTs for each new slab to show an ownership chain. So when I send my cards in for grading, I'm paying to buy NFTs of each of my slabs. Maybe they take a digital photo of the slab with the serial number and everything there, and they also include all of the information in the NFT. So that way, when somebody wants to know, who owns what card, it's all available on the blockchain, so everyone can see who owns what, and it could be really interesting to know that this person owns this card, this person owns this card, or hey, this card just sold to this person and now they have ownership because it shows it on the blockchain. Interesting, huh? And I think these are the types of things where we can combine the physical cards with the digital versions to create a really transparent ecosystem of ownership and value, because each time it's sold, don't forget also that the card itself is going to be, the price that it was sold for is going to be in the ledger as well. So that's going to be included in the NFT. So the next person will see how many times it's sold, who's bought it, the dates, all that kind of stuff. I think it's pretty cool. And that's just one idea, right? That was just me spitballing for a few minutes, just trying to think of ways that NFTs could be used with physical sports cards. There's probably 100 other things I'm not thinking of right now that I think some really, really smart person is going to come along and just go, oh my gosh, this is it, right? So I think in general, what we all need to do here is understand that Top Shot is kind of the first iteration of what a collectible sports card type of NFT could be. I've heard rumors that Top Shot is actually building games, and that's their ultimate goal, is to buy games, to create games where these NFTs that people are buying now, these moments or whatever it may be, can be utilized within the games. Now, I don't know how the gamification is going to work. I don't know what that means as far as the, what it does for values for these or what, but I could imagine something where I own these moments of these basketball moments, and if they create this, kind of world where there's this game and I can use my moments to sort of play against somebody else, my Michael Jordan dunk is going to trump your Russell Westbrook layup, and therefore I'm going to win that round or something. I don't know. That's me just kind of guessing, right? It sounds very sort of role-playing RPG stuff, right? But I think it's kind of fun. I think it's interesting. And I think if that's their ultimate goal, I think we're just kind of in phase one of what can ultimately be a whole different thing we're not even talking about right now. We're so hyper-focused on Top Shot, trying to take away the shine of sports cards, that I think we're missing the bigger picture of this is just kind of phase one of a bigger plan that they have for their product. So anyways, I'm not an NFT master. Like I said, I don't own NFTs. I don't own any Top Shot. I'm not here to pump and dump or do anything like that. That's not what this is about. I just heard so many different content creators, vloggers, different, podcasts of people basically just not understanding NFTs and trying to use the simple kind of, I guess you say, rebuttal of, I can just go online and take a screenshot, or I can just go on YouTube and watch the moment. That's not what it's about, guys. It's about the fundamental technology underneath all of that on top. And the fundamental technology is the part that we should all be very excited about, because that is where real change is going to come. And I don't think that these are going anywhere, but I do think that there's a way to make the whole sports card market and industry work better than it does. And I do think that NFTs are going to be a part of that in the future. Okay, I don't know if I forgot anything. I'm not really sure if that made sense to you, but I hope it gave you a little bit of an explanation of NFTs, of the purpose of them, what Top Shot is, what it means to the sports car world right now, and then, of course, what we could possibly do in the future with NFTs and physical sports cards. With that, we will wrap up this episode. Thank you so much. If you haven't, again, subscribed and you made it this far, Be awesome if you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell if you want to get updated when new videos drop, and of course, like the video if you liked it. If you hated it, if you want to, you know, if you don't ever want to hear about NFTs the rest of your life, that's totally fine. I get it too. But I wanted to at least share that with you to hopefully drop some more education so we're not just living in a knee-jerk world of we don't like things we don't understand. All right, guys, we will do it again soon. And until then, peace.